on live everywhere. Hi! So I taught at a school recently and they asked me to go over all of my aesthetics room tips. How to set up your cart, how to sanitize everything, what do I put my implements in, just everything with setup, which I haven't done in depth before. I've done little photos of things and done like this is the way my cart looks and that kind of thing. But it is really important to have a really high functioning aesthetics room. It's important to label everything the way that State Board asks you to. So you want to make sure that you're doing everything correctly. There's also my sanitation training in school was not 100% what I needed when I started doing hair removal. If you see right away on my cart, this is a clear, it's basically shower curtain material. You can buy one for $7 or $8 and you can cut pieces of this clear plastic and I put them over the towels on my cart, for example. And the reason is when you're doing a Brazilian, I have a SMA that's a garbage SMA, okay? And nurses, when they get trained, they're taught that bacteria can travel through something like 50 layers of gauze. So if you have a paper towel SMA and then you're putting your garbage on it during hair removal, you have to cut up this is my solution, because there's nothing out there that you can buy the exact size for your cart and everything, but that's just one small thing that makes a big difference, and it's for your client's health and your health to keep bacteria down. So here is my cart setup. We'll go over that first. I turned this on to try to help you guys see. You see, that's a little closer. I don't want to go too close. There we go. Okay, so I actually have my facial products down here, and you might have two carts, and that's going to make things more flexible. I found this tray, I think at Ross. They have really good trays, and this is a material that I can sanitize. I don't know if you can see the pretty pattern on it, but I like having a tray that I can pull out with facial products, okay? This is actually, if you're just getting started with our product line, I made a really simple back bar in here, and this is all you need to get started, and it's not that expensive to get started. So you can load up your tray with a lot more than this, but I have it in order, okay? So I've got my cleanser, my toner ready, and then I have my jojoba beads, okay, my 5% pumpkin enzyme for mixing with that. This is together. I hope you guys can see this well enough. This is challenging showing you all this with my cameras up on a stand, but I'll move them around and I'll make it work because I've been doing this a long time. So next is I've got masks in the center of my tray. So I have all this stuff in sections and I have it in order when I'm in a facial of how I'm going to be using these things. I have my 3 peels back here together. I don't mix them in the front because I don't want to, I would notice what it was if I picked it up, but just in case I have a crazy day, I keep them back here where I can't mistakenly grab a peel for something. This is just backup sugar. This is actually heavy. I'm going to take that off because I'm holding this whole tray for you guys. So I don't know, got everything sliding. You can see the nice pattern. This is a really cool tray that I found. I like finding neat stuff like this. So we have the hyaluronic, the peptide serum. Those are together in their own little section. And then we have the moisturizers. So the olive and resveratrol and the peptide repair lotion are 2 great ones to keep for facials because the rose C and peptide cell cream is very active for a facial. So for facials, you want to choose surrounding serums and things, be selective, because you're already using so many actives in a facial that putting a cream on them that has 1,000,000 actives in it at the end of a facial after all the treatments is sometimes not the best course of action, okay? And then I have my Mineral Defense Sun Care. So everything's organized, and I take these products off and I sanitize the tray. Now every time you do a facial, let's see where we can put these so you can still see them. I'll lift them up to you. Every time I do a facial, we use Citrus 2. It does say it can make brief contact with your skin, but we're doing this all day, every day. I recommend you keep gloves on. If you have a sink in your room, like I do now, you could wash one of your gloves or your gloves off that you're wearing, and you could kind of sanitize them, and then you don't have to waste supplies. You see what I'm saying? If you just did a facial, you have gloves on, soap them off, spray them with Cavicide to sanitize them, and then you can clean and not use an extra pair of gloves. So we carry this if you don't have this, and these have been the top seller, these spray bottles, so we might not carry the wipes or the gallons, but you want to soak. This is a paper towel folded. Soak it in Cavicide. So just like a Cavicide, or excuse me, we used to use Cavicide for years, but Citrus 2, none of them are natural, but it's a little more natural. So you are going to sanitize your bottles after each facial. And you just get them, make sure it's wet enough that these are soaked for a second, because this needs to sit on there and sanitize. I think it's 30 seconds, okay? So you want to rub the bottle down for like 10 or 15 seconds, and then every single product you use. So the way I differentiate what I use during a facial is I'll have my facial bowl right here, and I'll put the products up here on my SMA that I use, so there's no mistake on my tray. That not only that keeps your tray cleaner. If you're not putting the dirty product right back on the tray, then you don't have to sanitize that as often. You need to clean it for dust and that kind of thing, but basically you use the tray like a new surface. So when you've sanitized the bottles, then they go back on the tray, and the tray's been cleaned and sanitized already. Okay, so you wanna, this is how you do a little product, get the bottom and the lid and get it really well. I've gone into aesthetics rooms while teaching, I hate to say, one in particular, which I would never single out someone, I just gave them gentle advice, but I was worried about it. I went into one place to teach a long time ago, and I could clearly tell that they hadn't wiped their bottles down, and they had opened 6 months prior, I think, and they were not wiping their bottles, and their whole tanning room was coated too. Clients coming in could not only get an infection from that, but they're gonna see that if they're anything like me, where they notice those kinds of things. Okay, so it's mainly for their health and their safety. Hepatitis can live on surfaces for 2 to 3 days, so you don't want particularly hepatitis whenever there's a little bit of blood present, which happens a lot in hair removal. You have to clean these bottles. Like, we're not doing surgery, but almost treat it like we have to be clean, like we're doing surgery kind of thing, you know, because we're doing acne extractions sometimes, we're doing hair removal, the root of the hair is embedded in the blood supply. That's why there's a drop of blood that comes out of each follicle when somebody's new, especially if they have caffeine that day or something like that. So I'll show you a serum bottle. You're going to wipe them down completely, okay? It has to be a hospital grade disinfectant. There are some really great mentors. I saw one a few years ago still instructing people to use alcohol. That's not compliant, okay? Alcohol is not enough, and you have to use something that kills hepatitis. Why? Because it can be alive on surfaces for days. So if you have one person with open follicles or acne extractions, yes, you've got gloves, yes, everything else, you know, like your supplies, your 4x4s, your 2x2s might be clean, but if you touch a bottle that you got blood on, which is very possible with what we do, then you're exposing that facial or that next waxing client to potentially hepatitis. And hepatitis I'm focusing on because it's one of the diseases that can actually live for days, okay? So treat it like every single person has hepatitis. You see what I'm saying? And your practice will be really clean that way. So, all right, this is how I organize my facial tray. I hope you guys have a pretty good view of that. And I keep it on the second shelf. And on my drawers, this is going to be hard to see, but just to be safe with State Board, everything that doesn't have a label has a little, we're going to make labels actually for your water bottles because we're giving these to estheticians and kits, but you have to get a label maker and you have to label everything. So let me find something portable that's labeled new. When your implements are sanitized, I had an esthetician recently doing something funny. There were batteries in there, so they made a loud rolling sound for a second. So, see, California requires us to label everything new that's sanitized. So the way to do it is you're gonna wash off your implements with soap and water, and you're gonna change this every day. And then you have to soak your implements in your disinfectant solution, which that's what they want you to call it. This is labeled too. And then you're gonna soap off or rinse off your implements again, so there's none of that solution that'll make contact with your client's skin. And then you want to take a clean paper towel or something like that. You either have to have a box for drying that closes, or you have to dry them off and put them in the new area immediately, okay? So then I keep a couple of these boxes in drawers. So I have one for facials. This one has scissors and tweezers and stuff for doing eyebrows. And then as long as your drawer shuts completely, you can put things like this in your drawer, but you have to label your drawer new, and it has to be a special type of cabinet that you're keeping things in. So we have little sticks. These are some of our nano tips that I have in there. And then in my drawer I also have 4x4s and 2x2s, and you can't see this, but this drawer is labeled new, okay? And I also really like this thing. It's brand new and I have to put a new label on it. But I really like this. I didn't know if it would kind of get in my way. And I think I found 3 packs of these on Amazon, and they seal really nicely. They completely seal and keep everything clean. And then you can open this up and pull these out. I do a lot of Brazilians and a lot of facials, so I need 4x4s often, and it's much easier for me than getting into the drawer to use that container. So I do have alcohol. Alcohol I use for not sanitizing, but different cleaning things. Like sometimes wax solvents leave residue, and alcohol, we don't need it with sugaring. I'm not doing waxing in my office anymore. I personally am not that I'm not really great at it still, but I'm not doing it in my treatment room / office. So alcohol I'll use to get the sinks really shiny. It does have some sanitation properties, but it's not the hospital grade sanitizer like you need, okay? So in my school, I think they were using alcohol at the time, and they didn't make a big deal to me about how certain things can live on the surface of your bottles. They focused on all the other things to get you through your tests, but there were things that were critical, in my opinion, for safety that were missed, okay? So after a hair removal service, we'll go through, everything here is sanitized already, but we'll go through how to clean your cart, okay, when you've done hair removal. So first, the setup, I have the 10% oxygen and sunflower elixir. We do have this size now. I don't think we put it in the store yet. This is a 16 ounce. We have these pumps too, and I need to get those in the store because they can go in any of our cleansers and any of our 16 ounce or 6 ounce bottles. Let's see. I have my purified water or distilled water. That's for dissolving sugar. And the antioxidant toner. And the Powder Love. I have my squalane up here, which I use sometimes in facials too, but sometimes I put it on certain people who are really reactive after hair removal. And I have the sugar. So that's kind of all I need on the top of my cart. I put an SMA underneath these, which is important. That's supposed to be there. And as long as you don't put the unsanitized bottles in contact with these, sometimes these will last a couple services, but if you dirty a bottle and it makes contact with these, then you have to change it after every service, okay? So let's say we sugared. We're gonna sanitize our Sugar Love jar. Make sure you get the rim of the jar really well and you dissolve all the sugar. I'm covering the jar completely. I'm getting all the way around. I'm getting underneath a little bit. I'm getting all the way around the rim where you're gonna be touching, and all around right underneath the rim where you're making contact, and then get the entire top of the jar. Say, serums are kind of easy, but remember to thoroughly cover the whole jar. If you just kind of wipe one side, you're not doing it. Your toner you probably picked up like this and sprayed it, so make sure that you get the whole thing. And if you have the right amount of citrus too on your wipe, then the bottle's gonna stay wet for a minute. It's gonna take a little bit to dry, which is great because that means it's sanitizing while it's still wet, okay? Get your powder bottle. Make sure you get all of the area where you were holding. And then all the way around the rim on the top and the little spout, just in case any of that made contact with anything. Don't forget the bottom if it made contact. You know, I always get the bottom rim like that, and sometimes there's no contact with the underside of the bottle, but the little bottles you're going to make more contact with. The pump bottles, you might only touch the pump. So as long as your gloves are sanitized, sometimes you can just you can sanitize the whole pump. Because if your hand didn't go down here, you know, then that's what you need to clean, because the bottle was previously sanitized in the other areas. If you made any contact with the rest of the bottle, then you got to do the whole thing, like the other bottles, okay? Now, here's some things that my school was not adamant about when I was learning. You need to wipe your mag lamp, okay? Everywhere you might have touched. If you touched it here, you got to do the whole thing. And this is after every single client, okay? got to get it under here in case when you grabbed it and moved it, you contaminated it anywhere. There's also sugar on your light sometimes, or you know, you got to check, excuse me, sorry you guys, you got to check the magnifying part if you were doing extractions and the extractions went on to the underside of the magnifier, then you've got to sanitize that really well, okay? And if I touch the lid of my little container, so this seems kind of redundant to go through all of it, but I really want you guys to see what I do after every service. This goes really fast. Now, you also moved your cart, okay? So you have to sanitize wherever you grab your cart, or the drawers. If you open the drawers, you have to sanitize those too, okay? If you touched the light switch, if you touched the doorknob, is something people are touching all day. And this will prevent people from getting, you know, colds and stuff too. Okay? If you touched your chair, if you touched your sink handle, you have to clean everything and be meticulous, because that one thing you don't clean could be the contaminator, you know, for you or your client. A lot of people have dry hands. That causes micro fissures in your hands, and that means just by you exposing yourself to a client with maybe hepatitis, like I was saying, you know, you could get it. So it would be rare that this would happen, but it's possible. And that's probably one of the scarier things that could happen. My trash is automatic now. Let me turn this. Hello. So this, I've got my license over here. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's covering up some wires, but it's in view for clients. So another thing that we touch that we don't always think about is you're touching your seat a lot. You're touching it to go up and down. You're touching it up here to move it around. Don't forget that. And then your sink, you need to spray it out with citrus too. You need to sanitize your sink if you cleaned a bunch of things from a facial. You have to do it after every service and treat it all like new, okay? And this is my little paper towel dispenser. And then I have some other little drawers over here. This is my facial stuff in a new box. So I like to have jade facial stones. Our extractor, this is the Jessa one. I love the lift and pump method. I have tried them all thoroughly for years. I tried fingers and the loops and kind of all the traditional stuff we learn, and it caused a lot of histamine and marking, you know, that took a long time to go away. Not necessarily when you get good at it. These are tanning goggles, so I put a 4x4 over their eyes and then put these on top to block out even a double layer of a 4x4 into those mag lamps is still pretty bright. These are for mixing and putting masks in. I really like these for mask application. I'm trying to find some to put in the store. These are Taklon, and they have, you can't really use wood, you can't really have wood ends on your brushes. They'll be done after a couple sanitizing sessions. In California, you have to soak it in the disinfectant solution, and you have to be quick to get them out because it'll eat away at the bristles. These are pretty tough though. This fan type can be good for putting on peels and that kind of thing. These are the little cups, and that's about it in there. So my gloves just had Citrus 2 on them, and everything that I put these on has been sanitized. So something we just recently switched to is a wax mat. Although our color scheme doesn't match this bright blue, so we're looking for some other materials that can be sanitized. I'm gonna come close and try to scoot this back again so you can see my table, okay? Because I had a request to show how I wrap heads during facials. So we're gonna show you how to sanitize your table. You might not be able to see my head very well. I'll try to sit down. So I've got a couple things I put here for a second. So after I've done hair removal, you gotta spray your table down and kind of let this sit for a second. And then also when you start wiping it, it's gonna get your mat very thoroughly. And you can also use sheets and just wash them after every client, okay? So you'll see this will get kind of a glossy look, and that means it takes a while to dry. So it takes 30 seconds of being soaked to sanitize, okay? And this stuff takes probably a minute or two to dry on these mats. So I feel really good about putting people on the mat after I've sugared someone. So you just want to make sure this is completely dry in between clients, okay? And this will save a lot of laundry. Some of the clients that get really sweaty, this can turn out to be like a hot leather seat. So you might want to put a small towel that you wash under their tush if they get really warm while you're sugaring. And want to make sure, like I said, anywhere on your chair that you touch. All this was not gone over like this at school for me. You have to be meticulous if you do hair removal or you do acne. Those are the services where you're going to be exposed to blood, okay? I did a Brazilian in the class I taught recently, and the gal didn't drink coffee I was working on, and she had 2 cups for some reason that day, and then her roots were probably close to almost a 1/4 inch in to her follicles. So she spotted quite a bit, and the students were like, how do you stay calm, and how do you, I said, I'm used to seeing this on first time. I said, there's definitely a blood thinner in the mix, and there's no way that she would produce this much spotting, you know, in each follicle unless she has a blood thinner in her system. And that's when she said, I had 2 cups of coffee and I never drink coffee. So when you're working on clients, you got to know these little nuances too. So she had a lot of spotting because she had shaved previously. The roots were really embedded. Her hair was pretty dense, and so you just have to stay calm and understand that you're going to sanitize everything. But there's that client right there where there's a lot of spotting and you've got to be really diligent, okay? So I'm going to grab someone and show you how to do my head wrap. Somebody asked me how exactly I do the head wrap for facial. My trash is automatic. I don't know if you guys, I love this thing. These are $50. I think you can both see it. So you just go like this and it opens and closes. You just have to make sure that the sensor, that way you're not making contact with your trash, okay? Oops, it's sensing me. So I have the sensor turned a little bit away from me because when I was walking by it at first, it was opening and closing, which you don't want. So my mat is almost completely dry, so you can see how long that takes. You should have plenty of time in between clients to do this process and let it dry for like 3 to 5 minutes. If it's not dry and you're in a hurry and you need to get the next person in, get a fresh paper towel and just try to dry the little wet spots, okay? Let me grab one of my estheticians. So Kim's coming in and I'm going to show you how to do my head wrap for a facial. So let me put the towels down first. Kim, okay. Kim's my new manager, everybody. Hi. So you're going to put one towel like this to catch everything that drips and goes everywhere. And then I'm left-handed, so I fold it like this, okay? And then when I wrap it, it tucks, I can tuck it with my left hand when it's folded like that. If you're right-handed, you have to fold it the opposite way, so when the fold comes around the head, that you can tuck it using your right hand, because it's hard when you're left or right-handed. You could technically do it either way, no matter what hand you are, but there is a left and a right hand way. Okay, so if you can just lay, and make sure your client, when they lay down, is
short.
We do have a little step stool, because when you're really tall and your table's not automatic, so come all the way up to the top of the table. So you'll have to tell a lot of clients to do this. They a lot of times they'll lay down and they're like 6 inches away from the top. Whoop. Let's see, scoot a little bit into the center. There we go. So you're gonna kind of help them pick their head up and scoop their hair, and then you have to do this snug. So you wrap one side. There was a study done a long time ago that people like their head wrap really snug, not where it's falling off the whole facial, not where you're constricting their head, but so hold this side with this hand, wrap the other one, then you use your finger to hold the center for a second, okay? So this feels really snug, right, Kim?
Mm-hmm.
And I can loosen it if it's too tight, but if it's too loose, then you bring the other piece over the top and there's a fold here, and you take your thumb and you tuck it in there. And try not to poke your client. And then you kind of scoot it back a little bit, and that feels really snug, right?
Mm-hmm, it does.
So you don't need any clips. I don't like those Velcro things because they collect people's hair in the washing machine. I just like nice black towels. Some people have white towels and see my face like that because white towels, you're gonna, I have a joke going that every time I'm doing a video, something happens and the gardeners are out there yelling by my door. And they're not here every day, so I'm sorry about that, you guys. We may have to go out there. I'm gonna send Kim out there and tell them. Oh, there they go, of course. So anyway, this just slips right off, and that's how you wrap your client's head. So let me see on Facebook if there's any questions. It's hard to see the questions on YouTube. Hi, Karen. Karen knows Kim, so I have to come close to read your questions. Hi. Let's see. The wax mats, there's a wax mat that is made for us, but they only come in blue, and I want gray ones, so I'm trying to see if we can get some made that are in different colors so they match your color scheme. I just redecorated, and so I'm really into that. Let's see. Oh, Donna had to go with her client. Okay. I do use barbicide disinfectant. So it's the blue barbicide, and you just fill your disinfectant solution each day. Okay. Oops. All right, I think that's most of the questions. Remember that later you can ask me questions and I will answer them. Let me show you my facial bed really quick. So I like quilts. I can't say enough about quilts, okay, because they're easy to wash. They don't lose their shape like a lot of blankets do. And these are 1800 thread count bamboo sheets with a little bit of microfiber for wrinkling and that kind of thing. So I have some baskets and containers that I can close that are under my bed. So you can get clear plastic bins and you can close in and use storage. Oh, something else important. There's so many little things that you do that you don't think about. This is, let's see. See how this covers everything on the bottom? You know what that is? That's a standard 6-foot table. You know those fold out 6-foot tables? The covers for those tables fit massage tables perfectly, and they're cheap, okay? And you can get them in any color. So you can put a cover that's kind of like a bed skirt, but it's not an expensive one from the massage companies. You can get that anywhere that they have those table covers. So it's like a tablecloth, but it's the 6-foot standard table, fits a massage table really nicely. I've been using those for years, and I got gray to match the color scheme. So on my bed, this is my end blanket. I think it looks really nice to have an end blanket at an angle on a facial bed. And I also put 3-inch memory foam on the table. So I think that finishes off the table really well. And then these are my new sheets. And you just kind of straighten them out so that they look as ironed as they can, even though they're not, okay? And I'm sorry, YouTube. I'm not carrying you with me. So let me show the YouTubers. Here we go. Like I said, this is a little tricky manning 2 cameras here. So then on the head of the bed, I put those 2 towels and I wrap their head. And then you also want a lap towel, you know, to wipe your hands off on anything. A lot of times I keep the lap towel up here so that, you know, it doesn't get contaminated somehow somewhere else. Okay? And then this is a nice fluffy like faux fur blanket. And so let me tilt my YouTube people up higher. There we go. So this would get ruined if you put the wax mat on top of it and had people laying on it all day. Just pull it out, keep a really nice end blanket, and then you can keep it under the facial bed when you're not using it, okay? So I think that's kind of about it. The other thing I have is this is my soiled container. So this is where my soiled laundry goes, and then after each treatment it goes right into the laundry. It does have to be in a closed bin when it's sitting a long time, but we had State Board come through and they said this is okay because it's soiled as long as it goes straight back into the laundry room. Okay, let me look around and see if I missed anything. I have my hand soap over here by the sink. I use our Aloe and Sea cleanser. It does a really good job cleaning everything. Under the table, I keep distilled water, okay, for filling my steamer. And in the corner over here, I've got a big light in front of it, but I have my steamer and I have my microderm, and you want to sanitize those just the same way as everything else if you use them. Okay, and then I also have like a wedge if somebody's pregnant. Under there, I have a knee bolster. So you want to have a lot of things to keep your clients comfortable, okay? Any other questions before I go? I know that took a little while to show you guys everything, but it's important stuff. So, all right, I'll see you guys very soon. Now that I'm settled in my new space, I can make a lot more videos. We were moving for the longest time, and while I was reopening, it was very hard to make videos and do my newsletters. So they're all gonna start up again starting this week and next week. Okay? I did a little bit, but not as much as I usually do. Thank you. Have a great day.